ahead on 12 News Weekend, a tribute to New Hope Marine.
It's for all of us. It's wonderful.
Plus, the big project that's expected to put thousands to work, what it could mean for a Maple Grove company. But first, after a deck collapse in Champlin, what local building officials want you to know about your own deck. 12 News Weekend starts right now. A recent deck collapse in Champlin has shed light on decks around the metro.
Several people were hurt, including a baby. Everybody's okay now, but as Sonia Goins explains, cases like this aren't uncommon.
From what you can see from the wall, it pulled away from the wall.
Felix Neva says his family was having a going-away party Sunday night.
The thing just went down, boom, sort of like a really big bang.
When the deck at his home tumbled.
You know, it's very traumatic and emotional. There were people here screaming that Mama is dead.
6 people were on the deck, including Felix, when it went down.
And it didn't look more than 6 to 8 feet in the air, so it wasn't a real long tumble, if you will, but it was, plenty for anybody to get hurt.
The house was built in 1986. The deck was already attached when Felix bought the home in 2005.
I was surprised. You expect that a deck like this should be able to hold 6 people.
City records show there was not a permit for the deck.
The deck, I think, was attached to wall just with nails.
Many decks in the early 80s were built with nail connections, but that's against Minnesota code now.
Now the building code requires that they have to have a 1/2-inch lag bolt or 2 3/8-inch bolts every 16 inches.
Roger Axel is a building official with the city of New Hope.
Actually, the incidents happen quite frequently. If you look nationally, this is a regular occurrence.
He demonstrates why contractors are supposed to use bolts instead of nails.
So you can see these bolts go through the ledger into the rim joist of the building itself. So this is what's holding this ledger to the building. If these aren't there, if they're just relying on nails, they're going to pull out.
Felix Neva says the home was inspected when he bought the house.
It was so sudden. There was no time to even, like to say, hey, what is happening?
And he never anticipated anything like this happening.
I'm traumatized.
Thank you, Sonia. The building official in our story, Roger Axel, says homeowners can protect themselves by asking contractors to show them the actual permit. He also says homeowners can look underneath decks to see if bolts are in place.
There's now a $5,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of a man who broke into homes and sexually assaulted 2 women. Police say the first case happened in the 9600 block of Linden Lane in Brooklyn Park. 45 minutes later, a second assault occurred in the 7200 block of Girard Avenue North in Brooklyn Center. Police say what happened is rare. They believe the unknown attacker entered through an unlocked door.
Not something that's common, and people need to pay attention to it. And again, if they see something suspicious, call us.
Police released a description and a sketch of the attacker. He's described as a clean-shaven black man in his 30s, between 5'6" and 6 feet tall, with crooked teeth, wide nose, and muscular build.
In our weekend review, 5 same-sex couples from the Northwest Metro were among the first to become legally married in Minnesota. Among them, Michelle Case and Pam Allen of Robbinsdale. They exchanged vows surrounded by their 9 children. An estimated 5,000 couples are expected to get married in the first year. Census figures show Golden Valley has the highest concentration of same-sex couples in the state. A Maple Grove man has confessed to vandalizing a church several times near his home. Surveillance video shows the suspect throwing eggs at Pilgrims United Church of Christ. Lonnie Roseland says he did it because of the church's acceptance of same-sex marriage. Authorities call it a bias-motivated crime, and because of that, are expected to pursue elevated charges. And Brooklyn Park police have released the names of suspects in a wedding theft case at Edinburgh Country Club. They are looking for 30-year-old Sarah Lindstrom and 41-year-old Derek Manson. Manson is also a suspect in a similar case at a golf club in Ham Lake. Brooklyn Park police believe they're the ones who stole a box containing wedding cards and gifts.
On Monday, the Brooklyn Park City Council is expected to review results of a survey on liquor stores. The survey asked residents about the number and location of liquor stores in the city. Currently, Brooklyn Park has 15 liquor stores, but with the city's population, state law allows up to 19. Some residents we talked to expressed concern about crime if more liquor stores were added.
How do you think it's going to hurt the community?
Well, it's going to bring more drama. Alcohol brings a lot of alcohol effects. Children, minors, cigarettes, them things brings down the community.
Our police department found that there were no ties to liquor licenses and increased crime.
The city has a policy that limits the number of liquor stores south of 93rd Avenue to 12. It was put in place to reserve licenses for development in the northern part of the city. Well, Vikings Stadium construction is scheduled to begin October 1st.
The lead contractor is a Golden Valley company, and work could also involve a Maple Grove company. Mortensen Construction is heading up the project. They're currently meeting with subcontractors around the state. One of them hoping to land a contract is Hanson Structural Precast. The Maple Grove company makes concrete beams and risers and has won awards for its work on Target Field and TCF Bank Stadium.
A job of this nature is pretty big for us. It would probably end up being a third to a quarter of our volume for 1 year. As far as jobs, it might provide 100 jobs.
Mortensen plans to hire about 100 subcontractors. Coming up on 12 News Weekend, a patriotic tribute in 3D.
How a New Hope Marine inspired it. Then later in sports, young players learn from high school coaches and athletes at Maple Grove's football camp.
But first, it's your AccuWeather forecast showing an absolutely beautiful weekend ahead. A new law went into effect this week that tightens restrictions on drivers who share the roads with bicyclists.
So I've been hit 4 times with cars that have turned in front of me and not looked to see who is there.
As Travis Dorwheeler, a bicycle rider and manager of Maple Grove Cycling, the new law requires cars to yield to approaching bicycle riders in a bike lane. Dorwheeler says the new law is a good safety move, but he says both bicyclists and drivers can do better.
We definitely need to have the cars work with us a little bit better as cyclists to pay attention so that they see us, but we also as cyclists need to pay attention and be a little bit better as far as following the rules as well too.
Another part of the law requires bicyclists to have lights that can be seen at night from at least 500 feet from the front or the back. 3 years ago, a New Hope Marine lost both of his legs and his left arm when he stepped on an IED in Afghanistan.
Corporal Mark Latinsky's story inspired a work of art now on display in Minneapolis. It's just one way people are honoring his sacrifice. Surrounded by the uptown hustle and bustle, what looks like a blank wall to some is a canvas to Scott Lebedo.
From the street, it'll just pop right out. It'll be so three-dimensional.
The Staten Island artist is known for painting American flag murals all across the nation.
The American flag, to me, is the most beautiful, powerful, meaningful, most recognized work of art in the world.
Now he's chosen the Minneapolis VFW as the site of his latest work. After getting a late start due to rain, Lebedo works at a feverish pace, draping the wall in 9 different colors.
Because it's not just a flat flag, I give it life. I make it three-dimensional and it's waving.
And examining it from every angle to generate the red, white, and blue in 3D.
Everyone is different. Everyone has a different ripple, maybe more ripples, a different perspective.
It's pretty awesome.
New Hope native Mark Latinsky observes Lebedo's brushstrokes from the sidewalk.
The amount of support and appreciation and love that everyone's shown us has been overwhelming.
This mural, however, is part of a much larger project aimed at raising money to put Latinsky and his wife into a new handicapped accessible home that allows them to raise a family.
But it's really hard to do that in a little apartment, and no homes that are out and available for renter to buy are really set up for somebody in Mark's situation.
That situation was the main reason why Lebedo made the trek from New York, but it's also to honor the sacrifice Latinsky made in Afghanistan.
That's a personal gift to me, and I treasure that.
In turn, the Latinsky family treasures his hard work, tearing up when Lebedo puts on the final touches.
It's for all of us. It's wonderful.
And we want to thank the artist Scott Lebedo for letting us do the story while he was working. I was out there both Saturday and Sunday. I was the one who shot that, and it was just really amazing to see that all come together.
He just had it in his head and he could put it on canvas.
It really did. I do not have that talent. It's an amazing thing.
That's a great tribute to Mark and his family.
Indeed, yep.
For sure.
Well, still ahead, a thorny problem invading yards and nature areas.
What local foresters say must be done about it. But first, we catch up with a former Wayzata football star who is excelling at the college level. That's coming up in sports with Jay Wilcox.
Well, Jay Wilcox here now with sports, and some are kind of sort of winding down a little bit, but the good news is that football season is coming.
That's one reason I don't really mind when we get toward the fall, because a great time to be around when football comes around. High school football practice does start soon, but this week players and coaches at Maple Grove stayed busy working youth camps. A 3-day camp brought out more than 160 kids in grades 3 through 6. Maple Grove head coach Matt Lombardi and his players try to keep it light and teach the fundamentals. But really the camp is about more than football.
I just want them to know they're a part of something that is a little bit bigger than themselves, and that even in 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, you can look forward to something and wake up every morning and say, boy, that was cool. I can't wait to go back out. And if we can accomplish that at all with this, that's our goal. And then when they leave, hopefully they learn some things too. But more importantly, I just want them to love the game of football and enjoy being with each other. That's the big thing.
We're learning how to play the game of football, and we're practicing on tackling dummies.
This is the 3rd summer Lombardi has run the camp, and it's growing each year. This time around, Lombardi is happy to see more of the high school players volunteering their time as coaches.
I wish, when I was we had this, because we didn't, but it is, because I looked up to, high school athletes, when I was this age, but, now when they're actually coaching you, it's like, you feel awesome in a way, and it's just it just opens your eyes and just makes you even have a better, role models, and this is how you do it, and I think it's really important for what we're doing.
Lombardi and his players also hosted a camp for 7th and 8th graders last week. Wayzata graduate and North Dakota State University senior Grant Olson is on a good run as a college football player. NDSU has won 2 straight national titles, and Olson is a dynamic linebacker for the Bison. Jason Malolo profiles Olson in this week's The Next Level.
Grant Olson racked up an eye-popping 148 tackles last season as North Dakota State continued to establish itself as the premier program in the football subdivision.
It's been a lot of fun, first off. It's definitely been a great experience, just being able to meet a lot of new people. College football, traveling, going to different locations, seeing different parts of the country and things like that, and playing other great players. We've played a lot of really good teams. I have a lot of really good teammates, so being able to play with them, practice with them, work out with them has been a lot of fun.
Coming out of high school, coaches at the University of Minnesota told Olson he was too short to be a college linebacker. NDSU coaches thought otherwise. In fact, as a true freshman in 2010, Olson played in all 14 games for the Bison.
When I came into the recruiting process, I know Coach Bull and the other guys let me know that they needed depth at the Mike linebacker position and that I would be in contention for it. A lot of that kind of developed during fall camp with how are you going to play, how are you going to be ready to go, physically, can you come in and can you compete and things like that. Our defense is very difficult to learn, so it actually took me, about half the season to really, truly understand what I was doing, and then due to some injuries, I started playing an awful lot.
By his junior season, Olson was a starting linebacker for NDSU, and he credits the Wayzata system for allowing him to make a seamless transition to college football.
I think one advantage that I had over a lot of other players just coming even onto my own team was the experience that I had in high school. A lot of guys didn't have such a structured weight program in the offseason that I have. Guys hadn't learned how to watch film, how to prepare, how to do those extra things to take care of your body, and to really get yourself ready to play football at a high level.
Grant Olson wants football to be a part of his life long after his playing days are over. He's a student of the game and a natural leader, qualities that could take Olson to the coaching ranks.
I was at a convention this winter, and Coach Bull, the head coach of North Dakota State, had talked about him. And he came up to me after, and I talked to him, and he said to me, in his 30 years of coaching, Grant's the greatest leader he's ever had a chance to coach, and that it's just been so much fun to watch him and what he's done, and he's just a special kid, and it doesn't surprise me, and I think they'd hire him tomorrow.
Jason Malillo, 12 Sports.
Before possibly getting into coaching, Olson plans to try and pursue a pro football career after graduating from NDSU. Well, golfers in Maple Grove have a new tool to help their games. This week, a ribbon-cutting ceremony marked the grand opening of the Tailor-Made Performance Lab at Rush Creek's Golf Academy. Before playing in the 3M Championship, pro John Cook stopped by to test out the center, which actually opened earlier this spring. The system provides a computerized swing analysis and can help customize clubs to best fit your game.
It used to be you just played what they gave you, and it kind of started out that way. But nowadays, the tour reps, the R&D guys, I mean, you've got such trust in them, and to give you the right thing and something to start with. And then you work with the techs and you just dial things in to exactly the shaft, the weighting, the face angle, the loft.
I asked him about, helping a player who's nowhere near as good as him, and he said, yeah, absolutely. It might help them even more to get the right equipment.
So you have fewer and fewer excuses here to be a good golfer, really. All right.
Thanks, Jay.
You bet.
Well, up next, it's invading yards, parks, and prairies.
And we're talking about buckthorn. It continues to bully nature. See how local foresters are battling back up next.
When pioneers introduced the buckthorn plant in Minnesota in the 1800s, they thought it would thrive as a hedge.
Turns out it's thrived a little too well. Buckthorn hasn't been sold in the state for 80 years, but you can still find it in the woods and in our parks. And the battle continues to control it.
This whole area right here, you couldn't see 5 feet.
When Dave Turbinson grabs his red basket and heads into the woods,
These trails had grown close, and we still have a lot of work to do.
he's a man on a mission.
When I moved to Plymouth 10 years ago, one of the reasons I moved here was the parks and the trails and the woods. And over the last 10 years, the woods near my house have slowly been overrun by buckthorn.
Buckthorn is a non-native plant that has an opposite leaf pattern and thorns. It spreads rapidly and crowds out other plants.
So I decided to make a stand and start cutting buckthorn.
Dave decided to battle buckthorn in the park that borders his backyard.
Now that we found the buckthorn, it's time to cut it and kill it. And the two most useful tools for cutting buckthorn are just a lopper and a handsaw.
After you cut the buckthorn, you must apply a concentrated herbicide to kill the plant. One of the biggest mistakes people make is they cut it but don't kill it.
We need to kill this buckthorn. If I don't treat this with an herbicide, by next year there'll be 5 to 8 new sprouts coming out of this stump.
There's evidence of that here. Someone cut a big buckthorn tree but didn't spray it. So 10 plants grew out of the stump.
It's gaining momentum.
Here you can see just how prolific one buckthorn tree can be. This is a female. You can tell because it has berries. Underneath you'll see hundreds of new plants that will be ready to reproduce in the next few years. Plymouth needs more volunteers like Dave to organize buckthorn busts this fall.
Volunteers are critical in our struggle against buckthorn. We just don't have the resources to get everywhere.
But volunteers could lead the way in eliminating the buckthorn bully from overtaking a park near your home.
I just don't want to let that happen on my watch. I feel it's my responsibility as a resident of Plymouth to do something about it.
The best time to eradicate buckthorn is late summer or early fall. Buckthorn loses its leaves later than native trees, so it's easier to identify then. And that's all the time we have for now. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Have a nice weekend. We'll see you on Monday.